Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Disney Plus Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 2 and 3, which both episodes dropped on March the 31st. Daredevil season 2, it started off with a nice bang. I must say, I enjoyed the first episode to get us reared up for this season of Daredevil. Last season was kind of mixed for a lot of people. I think that's been covered by many people in this sphere, but I was all right with it. I was even kill with it. It didn't set the world on fire, but I was still engaged with the story in hopes that season 2 will kind of ramp it up a bit. And boy, have they ramped it up. Just these 3 episodes so far that we got this season is, dare I say, 2 times better than what we got the entire first season of Daredevil Born Again. And that's coming from somebody who actually thought the first season was all right. But these 2 episodes we got tonight, episode 2 entitled Shoot the Moon, and episode 3 entitled The Scales in the Sword, were just chef's kiss in my humble opinion. I think we got everything that we love about Daredevil, going even to the comics, going back to the Netflix series, even last season, the good parts about that. And we got more Daredevil. We got more action, more intriguing stories, more Kingpin doing his thing. Everything that you could want out of a Daredevil show, we got so far. Now, I don't know how it's going to go going forward, but so far I am completely satisfied. Let's go over these 2 episodes that dropped tonight on Disney Plus. It picks up right after the events of the first episode, beginning with episode 2, and we see Cherry being taken to the hospital to recover from his heart attack that he suffered at the end of episode 1 when Daredevil came to rescue him and from Wilson Fisk's task force, and the task force managed to get the upper hand on him and unmask him, only to be saved by Bullseye, his greatest adversary, and with a knife that says "You're welcome" on it. Meanwhile, you have Wilson Fisk. He's being advised by his liaison, who tells him, like, look, you should tell everybody that Daredevil is Matt Murdock. You should expose him for what he is, for what he just did to these agents and whatnot. And Wilson Fisk is kind of torn because at the end of the day, Daredevil did save his life. What actually, Matt Murdock saved his life in season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. And I guess he threw him a bone of sorts, but at the same time, put a hit out on him by holding this press conference and declaring Matt Murdock a missing person. And he puts out a missing person alert and warrant for Matt Murdock, because he saved his life. He's a hero, but we know that he wants him dead. Part of him wants him dead in spite of the fact that he saved his life. So not only are the task force hunting Daredevil, now you have everybody in New York hunting Matt Murdock. And so that makes his job just a little bit more difficult because Matt Murdock can't be seen in public now either. We catch up with Angela Del Toro, who's the niece of the White Dragon, or the White Tiger, not the White Dragon, completely different character, who's the niece, and they're at this store, and her aunt ends up being arrested by the task force for trying to break up a fight between an officer and a patriot there, and so this prompts Angela to go visit Christian, who is the law partner of Matt Murdock. And while she's there, she retrieves the amulet of power, which gave White Tiger his abilities that belonged to her uncle. So now she's in possession of that. And I was waiting to see when they were going to unleash that. I thought they would probably save that closer to the end of the season or whatever. But no, they jumped right into that. And we even got a taste of that coming up in a little while. And so across town, we have Wilson Fisk. He's talking to Daniel Blake about these leaks that are happening. This online thing where somebody is dressing up as Wilson Fisk, pretty much mocking him. And we all know that Kingpin does not like to be mocked. So he's a little angry with Daniel, but he has a soft spot for Daniel because him not having a rightful heir, he really looks at Daniel as his rightful heir and trying to coach him up to be possibly the next Kingpin or whatever his plans are. We don't know. He plays it pretty close to the vest, but that's what it's kind of indicating up front. But he has a conversation, I should say, have a conversation with Daniel about this. Like, you need to find out who the leak is, where this leak is coming from, because obviously it's coming from the inside. And now Daniel pretty much knows who the culprit is. It must be BB. It's the only person that could have leaked all this information out. And so he has this little dinner date with her and cooks dinner and tells her to stop, because Daniel isn't this cold-blooded killer, at least not yet. I don't know how that character is going to end up turning out, but right now, but he has a soft spot for BB. He really does have feelings for BB and doesn't want anything to happen to her. He's telling her to stop because, look, they're going to hurt you and me. So if you're the one doing it, to stop. And I really like that scene. That was probably the best scene from the actor who plays Blake. I can't. Why I always forget his name, and it's crazy because it's James Gandolfini's son, but I keep forgetting his first name. But anyway, yeah, I liked him in this scene. Actually, I've liked him this season more than I liked him last season, even though I didn't hate him. I didn't dislike his performance, but I just thought it was meh. Anybody could have played that role. But now it looks like he's really growing into the role, and I really do enjoy him as Blake or Daniel Blake this season. We have Vanessa, who is growing more and more paranoid, as days go by because of Bullseye. She know that Bullseye is after her. Bullseye is truly after her, and she is shaking in her boots with the threat of Bullseye coming after her, because what can you do against Bullseye? I mean, honestly, he can kill you from a mile away if he wanted to, so it's really nothing you can do but just accept your loss, man. Take the L. But she is struggling with that. We have Matt and Karen. They're attacked by the task force at their little hangout that's over Josie's, the bar. And Daredevil, he does what he does. He makes work up. I mean, he worked them in that bar and in their little love dungeon that they have over the top over there. But while he's making mincemeat of the task force, we have Karen. She takes one of them hostage. And so the episode ends with Karen bringing Matt to where she has this task force agent tied up and blindfolded. And that's how episode 2 comes to an end. So we move on to episode 3, and this episode we open up right where we left off. Karen and Matt are interrogating this agent who is ready to defect. He's tired of the foolishness that Fisk has put them in charge of, and wrangling up these people and whatnot. And it's he's ready to defect. He's ready to fight against Fisk and this task force. And so he helps them out by giving Karen and Daredevil a card, one of their cards that a key card that can open up the doors at the Red Hook operation, where they are holding the people captured, and where the cargo from that ship from the first episode is being held. And so we move on to Christian McDuffie, who is preparing to defend the swordsman in his trial, who we saw get arrested under Wilson Fisk's new little deportation thing. And he claims that the charges are a form of retaliation after he refused to invest in Wilson Fisk's Red Hook project. So, but before I get to that, it was a cool little scene, which it wasn't cool when it was happening, but it is the ultimate setup. One of the best setups I saw in television in a long while. And it was Christian Christian being escorted into Red Hook, and she's blindfolded. She got on these blacked out goggles, look like a VR set that's blacked out on her face, as she walks through this little back way through the facility, and she's going down the stairs, and you looking at this scene, and they're showing all these shots, of her passing the little puddle of water from the leaking pipe and going down the stairs, and little things like that to get to where she was going to meet up with the swordsman. And it's just like a little throwaway scene. It's like with these insert shots, these little B-roll shots that they put in there. You know, if you're really, really looking at it, you're like, what? Why are we wasting 5 minutes of film going going step by step, her walking through the back way of this facility, but it plays a role later, which I'm going to get to in a couple of minutes. So we get to the trial, and during the hearing, the prosecution, they rely heavily on this psychological evaluation that Heather Glenn gave. And we saw in episode 1 where she falsified those reports, changed it up to whereas he came off, he being the swordsman, as this psycho vigilante killer type. And so he looks mentally unstable now because of her falsifying those reports. And ultimately, the judges or the council or whatever they are, they decided to convict Jack, and convicted him and found him guilty of the crimes that he's been accused of, which I don't even remember the charges. Did they say the charge? I'm pretty sure they did, but I don't remember for some strange reason. But anyway, he was found guilty, unlawfully, mind you. But prior to that, Christian went to Heather and asked her, well, how can you work for Fisk? How are you doing this? And Heather gave this little monologue to her. And she was like, look, you never dealt with a vigilante. I went through it, I almost died because of a vigilante and all this. It was, once again, this was part of the reason why I didn't like the character in the first season, but for some strange reason, I'm enjoying the Heather character this season because there's more depth to her, really. But even with all that said, her logic behind this is stupid. I get the trauma that she went through because of Muse, Yes, a vigilante almost killed you, but in the same breath, a vigilante saved you. You know, Daredevil saved you. So it kind of balances itself out. But granted, I've never been in that situation, so I can't really speak on it. But it just seems like a real drastic stance to take. You know, I mean, the way her character has shifted in season two, even though I like her, but it's a big change from what her character was in that first season. Meanwhile, you have Matt and Karen. They're continuing their investigation of the Red Hook facility, and a mysterious document about Red Hook reaches the governor, and she comes down to confront Wilson Fisk, and she questions the port's special legal status as a historical free port, which is a monkey wrench because, you know, nobody ever questioned Wilson Fisk on this. And now the governor is questioning him, and she outranks him, at least politically. And so now it's a bit of an issue. And so, although she is largely tolerant of Wilson Fisk's policy so far, the governor makes it clear that her support has limits. And so she warns that if something goes wrong, such as suspicious cargo shipments, she has the authority to revoke the special legal status of Red Hook. So, so after the trial, Matt, he's convinced. You know, he's convinced that he has to go on his rescue mission now, and so he convinces Christian. And she's at the bar drinking and whatnot, and managed, you know, after the loss, she's drinking her woes away, and managed to get her back to the office where he can interrogate her, ask her about the facility, Red Hook, when she went to go visit Jack. And she was like, well, they had me blindfolded and I couldn't see anything. And, you know, cute little line there. And it was, he was like, oh, I can work with that. And so she describes everything. And that's when we go back through the series of events of her walking through that facility and passing where the birds were perched on the little ledge there, and the little puddle of water from the drip from the water, and you know, just follow these signs, follow these sounds, and that's how he was able to get in. And it was just cool, that little callback and going back to that moment. Now I know movies and TV shows probably have done this a million times, but I just love the way it was done on this show in this episode. It was genius. I felt real subtle and big at the same time. And so he uses her memory of the sound and the layout to get in. Also using the key card that he got from that task force agent to gain access inside. And that's where he discovers a dozen of prisoners being held in cages, including people who don't even is not even a vigilante. I was about to say don't even have superpowers, but not all of them have. I don't think none of them on this show have superpowers per se, but just normal folk, including Angela's auntie. And so they're all locked up in these cages. So Daredevil frees the detainees and reunites with the swordsman, who helps him fight off the task force agents as chaos erupts through the facility. I mean, they went full on, like, just obviously you could see where the cuts were happening, but it was shot as if it was one take. And you know, that goes all the way back to the Netflix Daredevils, you know, going down that hallway and that epic fight scene, and even on the Punisher did the same thing in that prison scene. But this was a callback to that, and it was done really well. I was hyped up. I stood up in my chair or sat up in my chair. I was all in on that little action fight sequence there. I was enjoying the piss out of it. Outside of the base, you have Karen. She's waiting in the car, and you know, she's monitoring the situation, waiting for, I guess, her cue from Matt. and to engage her portion of this mission. But while waiting, she runs across Angela Del Toro, and she claims that her aunt is being held captured inside as well. She's there to help. She's there to break her out and whatnot. So with her seeing Karen there, she's like, "Oh, Daredevil's inside." So I'm here to help. So and you see her wearing the amulet of power as well. And so Angela, she also brings some of the radio communications, some of the walkie talkies from the task force that she was able to take from, I guess, the one she either beat up or stole. I don't know how she got them. They didn't explain how she got them, but she had them. And so that helps Karen communicate with Daredevil during the escape. And so while the free prisoners escape the facility, Karen and Angela, they commandeer, because one of the things she also stole, she being Angela, was a key to one of their tanks, one of their big old RVs, and they was able to use that truck to block some of the gunfire from the task force while the prisoners are getting into the back of it so they can continue on with that rescue mission. So Jack takes the truck. He at least drives the truck with the prisoners away. They manage to get away. Karen and Daredevil, they escape separately in another direction in their vehicle. And we also see where Angela sabotaged the agents' vehicles by slashing their tires to prevent them from chasing them as they escaped. But no good deed goes unpunished. Can't celebrate too long, especially on this show. It was a very short-lived victory because after learning that Daredevil interfered with the task force facility, with the Red Hook facility, and freed the prisoners, Wilson Fisk, he moved quickly. He had a contingency plan, and he wanted to protect his operation. In doing so, he orders the destruction of the Northern Star, because he knew that if he left that up, it would draw the attention of the mayor that all of these prisoners and hostages, I guess is more accurate to describe them, escaping would bring more eyes to them and give the governor the right to raid the facility per se. So he wiped clean that ship. So moments later, as the ship explodes and it kills everybody on board of the ship, and erasing any witnesses who can expose Wilson Fisk for what he's doing, unloading all of this arsenal, this cargo off of the ship. And so Matt and Karen, they're driving away from the chaos, and Daredevil, with that sonic hearing that he has, he can hear the blast in the distance, and he can hear the men that was on that ship screaming, which was crazy because they were pretty far away. And that just goes to show you how potent his sense of sound is. And the realization hit him immediately, because he was horrified. I mean, he was legit horrified. And Matt tells Karen what just had happened, and that's how episode 3 comes to a close. These 2 episodes were bangers, man. I was all in on this, man. I enjoyed these 2. So far, so good. So far, so good. 3 episodes in, I have 0 complaints so far. It is a huge, huge improvement from season 1. Huge improvement. And we still have 5 more episodes to go this season. I don't know why they dropped 2 in one. I'm happy that they did, but I really don't know the explanation of why they dropped 2. I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere. I just didn't see it, but I'm glad that they did it. These were 2 amazing episodes of an amazing season so far. I would like to know, what did you think of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 2 and 3? Did you enjoy it? Are you back engaged if you were unengaged from what you saw last season, or just with Marvel, period? I know Marvel has kind of been on the ropes for the last few years, but I will say this has been a breath of fresh air, man. This feels good. This feels like Marvel. And knowing that we're getting that Punisher short after this, and then right after that, we're getting Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh my God, man. It looks like it feels like Marvel's getting their legs back under them. We'll see. I don't want to speak too soon because, like I said, we still have 5 episodes to go, and this can go left really quick. But before that happens, and I pray that it don't, I'm going to revel in these first 3, which I completely enjoyed. I want to know your feelings. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of episode 2 and 3 of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.